So, what I wanted to talk about today in this video is a process in guided wilderness connections, which we use an ABC process. So, as I've talked about before, A is arriving, B is befriending, and C is connecting. So, the more I practice this, and I just got back from another guided wilderness connections weekend, and what I'm noticing is how those three steps are certainly not linear. We can try to make them linear, and they are in certain ways, like the idea to get into a higher state of presence, which is arriving. Uh, those 8 C's I've talked about of compassion, curiosity, creativity, etc., available to us, and then befriending anything that comes up while we try to do that, and anything else, other parts of us that we're aware of in the moment that we want to get to know a little bit, or parts we've met in the past that we want to just check in, see if they have anything for us. And then the C process is, connecting and going deeper. So, and that's a good process, right? Linear, you can go from A to B to C, and that works. But there are many times when um, it's not linear. I mean, at how do I say this? At the end of the day, the entire process is about arriving and connecting. Uh, when we fully arrive, we're fully connected. We're connected to all of our parts, we're aware of them, and we're connected to ourself, our deepest self. And I'm calling that now like we return home. We're returning home to our origin, where we all began, where we began before all the traumas and before all the uh, personas we've created and the protective parts we had to create, and before all the internal changes that were made, before we were domesticated into society. We had to conform, and all of that activity. Home is returning back before all that, when we were just pure. And that's what our truest self is, that pure state. And then when we're there, when we've returned home, we don't cut off all these great parts of ourselves that we've created, but we gain control over them. And control is such a terrible word because it's not control. We gain influence over them, maybe is a better word. We gain connection over, so that we're leading, but with these parts influence us and we influence them. So for instance, if I need my COO, who's a really good business person, gets things done but does it in a really good way, it's an evolved leader for me. That's a great part to have out in front, and sometimes I need that if it's a business related setting, or if I'm doing an IFS session with somebody. I don't want my COO out there, although he almost could be. He's very skilled, but I want more of my coach therapist part, who can sit and really hold space and really have his parts step back and uh, gently bring the agenda of a internal family systems process online, but not forcing anything. So there's two instances where I need different parts of myself, right? Or a dad part, my parent part, which is a lot like my COO, a lot like my therapist, um, but different. And sometimes I want that part out in front when I'm dealing with my kids, or a husband part of me, a part that is a mature lover, who wants to connect with my wife in a certain way. Um, Again, a lot like the COO. Thought I heard coughing, so I'm just looking around. Um, Again, a lot like the COO, a lot like the therapist, and actually has qualities of each of those. But still, the part's a little different. And then as I look around my circle here, I have an adventurer part that loves to just explore. It's young. It's got a lot of young, enthusiastic energy. a radar part who's like bringing me information, you know, um, a nurturer. I have a nurturer. I have a manager, just who's like a hardline manager, just get stuff done, kind of military esque, drill sergeant, superhero, a part that sees the world as needing to rise up, and we get to do things. It has this wonderful perspective of getting to do things. So, when I've fully arrived home, I'm still aware and connected to all these parts. I haven't broken away from them. You know, I often hear the term, we've got to let go, but I don't see how that's relevant to my work. Um, what's important is returning home, leading from the safety and comfort and wisdom and brilliance that comes from being home in my highest place. That's what I want to constantly tap into as I take actions, as I show up in the world, as I move forward, as I parent, as I do an IFS session, as I lead my business. I want to be that person, um, because it's better for me, it's better for the world, and it's joyful, it's rewarding. I feel so connected, which is so rewarding in and of itself. So what I'm talking about, so all of that, the ABCs they bounce around. In order for me to fully arrive, I have to be fully connected to the outside world and as much of the inside world as I can. That's arriving. I think there is an end state of arriving. So if I did my process arriving, befriending, connecting, I could put an A again right there. Like there's a deep arriving that happens, that and maybe the more I do this process, the deeper my process gets, and I've arrived home. I don't want to say there's an ultimate goal to this, but I see an evolution where I've arrived to a home. I've arrived back home. I've returned to my truest self, um, through befriending and connecting, right? So I haven't done it by cutting off, splitting off, denying, forcing, ignoring, um, whatever else you want to say. But, I've befriended and connected to be able to arrive. So it's like ABCA, ABCA. It's like they all interrelate, interconnect. And I think the more I do this work, and after getting back from this weekend, the more I see that. The more I see that. And I think our ability to arrive in a situation. So again, the second A. So I hope I'm not confusing you, but if you talk about, the first arrival of our process, which is getting in that higher place, as much of it as we can to be able to befriend, and connect in a deeper way. But then we get there. We've done the deeper work and we get to a deeper A. Okay. And then we try to do something in our lives. So then we try to, like for me on the weekend, then I try to go and I circle up and I want to fully arrive, right? Um, but there are parts of me that aren't allowing that to happen. So I have to do the work to fully arrive at what I want, at the place I'm at. And there are a lot, if you think about it, there's probably many places in our lives where we don't fully arrive. We don't fully bring it. We don't fully bring all of our highest energy, our highest self. And that's what this program's about. That's what this process is about. Understanding what's keeping us from entering this space and arriving here now. And those are usually parts. And we have to befriend them. And we have to do some deeper work around connecting with them and maybe unburdening, having them let go of some of their beliefs so they can join our system. So they don't try to block us, block our ability to arrive, but they show up, we acknowledge them, they stay back, we're still able to arrive and fully connect. So see, the A and the C have such a similar meaning in this process. Um, Arriving means to fully connect, and to fully connect means we have arrived. And they're both, are they both objects? That's what I was about to say. I mean, in a way, they can be, but they're really more of a verb. They're a constant action of arriving, of connecting. Can you get to a fully connected place? Yeah. What would that look like? I'm not sure. Maybe the Dalai Lama, right? Or Dick Schwartz, or somebody who's been doing this work for years. You could say that they've arrived at a more deeply connected place. They're more deeply connected to themselves. Therefore, when they connect to somebody else or something else, they don't have these parts that are jumping in and blocking their ability to connect. So I would say they've fully arrived. So that's what I'm learning about this process. And I think this process can be used everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, what kind of a world would it be if we could bring our best selves always, right? Even to get stuff done, but we're doing it from a foundation of our best self. And, we could be better leaders, better parents, better husbands, wives, sisters, brothers, children, co-workers, you name it. We would just be better at it. And see, I hate, it's funny, I hate using hate, but I don't like when I start to use words like our best self. We'd be like as if when we're in the other place, it's our worst self. That labels this whole work in the wrong way. I guess what I'm saying is that we're always evolving, we're always progressing towards bringing more of ourself forward, more of what's really available. And yes, I do like to describe that as our best self because I know when I'm in it, it just feels different. And people around me experience it as different. Um, yeah. So I think that's all I have to say about that right now. But I just wanted to share that. So if you have any questions or anything, please put them below the video or email me at don@guidedwildernessconnections.com and let's have a conversation about it.